So instead of me going on and going into detail, I thought this would be a good time for us to segue and talk to one of our customers. So let me invite up the Senior Manager of IT Infrastructure and Operations, Scott Lonis. Scott, come on up. Good to see you, Scott. Thanks for being here. So Scott, you're from Translink.
Yes.
And so when I get on a bus, the last thing I'm thinking about is, how many things can you connect up here so it improves my services? I just want to be able to have the bus be on time and take me to where I need to go.
Right, so let me set the stage a little bit here. We're responsible for transportation, transit for the Greater Vancouver area, so there's a lot of people that rely on our services. We run commuter rail, LRT, and a fleet of about 2,000 buses. When we talk about those buses, there's really many systems that run on those vehicles. And traditionally, those have run, each one has been kind of delivered autonomously, which is really inefficient, and it takes money and resources away from what's really important, which is putting service on the road for our passengers.
So how do you go about doing that? I know we're going to put up an architecture side in terms of how you brought, you're bringing all of these systems together, but would love to get into a little bit more detail.
Yeah. So what ended up happening for us is our journey started with this perfect storm of system end of life. And so it really allowed us the luxury of kind of taking that holistic view of what services are we trying to provide and how do we do that more efficiently. So we think about how do we get better at providing better predictability for our passengers on when a bus is actually going to arrive. How do we deal with things like making sure that our mechanics can focus on being mechanics and not have to be technical staff and dealing with all of this technology on a bus?
Because I'm assuming they don't have a CCIE.
Generally not, no. The other things we're looking at is how do we put a platform in that we can build on for the future and all the the things that we want to do, but all the things that we don't know that we want to do yet. And at the end of the day, how do we make sure that what we're doing provides value to our passengers and to the taxpayers who fund us?
So maybe it'll help to just even walk us through a little bit, because I'm sure you've seen this for a long time, you know this pretty well, so maybe just even help us kind of what are we showing up here?
Yeah, so really when we started down this journey about many years ago, we started with how do we get a system that can kind of look after all of this stuff that we need to do end to end. And so we evaluated what was in the market, and at the time, Cisco was really the furthest along in that space, but we still had some development work to do. And over the last number of years, we've had a few resets, learned a lot of things, and we've really kind of recently changed our direction based on what we've learned and all these new capabilities that are available in the IoT space. So this is a representation of what we built. From a technology perspective, there's a lot of pieces in there, and believe it or not, that's about a quarter of what it was when we started in terms of touch points and scripts and connectivity.
So when you talk about the fact that you had a few tries at this, I got to ask the question, because I've heard that from a lot of customers. It's not like these go, so scale and security are two of the things that come up very often. So maybe you can help, provide some insights even to our audience in terms of saying, there's technology challenges, but there's non-technical challenges as well, right? So help us kind of, almost like we want to be walked through what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about scale, we're talking about 2,000 buses, and that number is growing, both in terms of number of vehicles and the number of systems on each vehicle. So it's climbing fairly quickly. We're in a period of rapid growth. Our services have been increasing, near double digits year over year, and we're the fastest growing transit organization in North America. So when we look at that, there's really the non-technical aspects of that. How do we make sure that our mechanics and our people out in the field who are maintaining these vehicles don't have to learn an iOS CLI to be able to service the vehicles, and they can really focus on their core competencies? From the technical side, how do we put in a platform that we can leverage for the future? How do we get better efficiencies in our service delivery, and use a lot of these capabilities that are available in the platforms that we've deployed to get better insights into what's going on.
Right. So Scott, is that it? So this sounds like a lot that came together. What's next for you guys?
Well, I think just quickly want to hit on the security point too that you'd mentioned. So, with 2,000 vehicles out there, we have to maintain 2,000 entry points into the network to allow the services to operate. But it also creates 2,000 exposure points from a security perspective. And so we really need to make sure that what we're delivering is secure end to end. And so we're using a number of different platforms for that. We're using the firepower and a number of things there, but we're also using Cisco ICE as that centralized policy engine to manage that piece as that single source of truth for security. So when we talk about what's next, we're really focused on that edge compute. We look at why are we doing what we're doing, and we could say it was a communications consolidation play, but it's really more than that because the communications piece, that's table stakes for when we're dealing with networking. It's really how do we build capabilities in this area. So we're really looking at what can we do at the edge, things like vehicle telematics, smart security or safety systems. When we talk about telematics, we're thinking about things like how do we collect diagnostic data from a vehicle and send that back to the maintenance facilities so that before the vehicle even comes off the road, they know there's a problem with it and they can divert it straight into the garage and get it fixed and get it back on the road as quickly as possible.
So you're trying to automate that as much as possible so somebody doesn't come in, waste time,
Exactly.
then send the vehicle off.
Exactly. And then when we talk about safety and security, one of the things that we're envisioning is how do we tie in the driver panic button with the video system that's on the bus, and maybe leverage a little bit of edge computing and IBN there, and open a video channel to law enforcement. So when that call comes in, they actually have a live view of what's happening on that vehicle, and they're better prepared to be able to respond to it.
I think that's a fantastic service in terms of, as a rider, to say that that's as safe as you can get, right? Because you're talking about getting real-time information out to law enforcement when it's happening, not when the bus reaches someplace and then then you're alerting them.
Exactly. So we're really looking at how do we build this for the future? How do we leverage these capabilities? And our OT people love it that they can basically take a device, and in the past they might have had to learn little bits of technology to deploy all these disparate systems. Now they can use a mobile app and a barcode scanner and deploy the device to a vehicle. And on the technology side, we got people excited about things like containers and microservices, and how do we put that intelligence at the edge to be able to deliver a better service.
So great. I know there's a lot more that we can cover, but we wanted to make sure that we get into another industry as well and do some showcase of our products. So thanks for being here, Scott. Really appreciate it.